Hi, this is Karen from stampyourway.blogspot.com, and today I'm going to show you a great craft idea that you can do using your Stampin' Up! Stamps is to actually stamp on fabric. And as you can see here, this is a piece of fabric that I stamped using a variety of this year's, from this holiday catalog 2013, the variety of Halloween stamps. And you can do the same thing. I'm going to use this fabric to make some throw pillows for my living room, but you can make some pillows using this technique, or maybe a table runner for your dining room table, placemats, wall hanging, you name it. And you don't have to do the exact measurements and pillow dimensions that I'm doing, but I'll post everything, all the information on my blog, so you'll be able to know exactly how I assembled mine. But I just wanted to let you know that you can do this anyway. Basically, as always, stamp your way. So here's the example of the material, my stamped material. And these are the stamp sets that I used when I stamped my fabric. I used the Trick or Treat stamp from the Tags for You clear stamp set. I also used stamps from the Halloween Bash stamp set. I chose the Celebrate a Creepy Crawly Halloween, the ticket stamp which says Admit One Halloween Bash, and this Beware stamp. And then I also used a bunch of stamps from this Halloween Hello set. The bat, the Halloween candy, the skull I used, It's All About Candy, the witch, the candy corn, and the candelabra. So the first thing you're going to need to do is to prepare your fabric for stamping. First of all, you need to wash it to remove all the sizing that comes with the material from the manufacturer. And when you wash it, don't use any fabric softener, not the liquid nor the dryer sheets. You want to have a clean surface so that your ink will adhere properly to the material. So here I am making my first stamp image onto the fabric. And first tip, as always, make sure you don't rock your stamp. You want to make sure you just press down firmly, and you might want to hold it for a little bit, give it a little bit more pressure. Since you're stamping on fabric, it's not cardstock, you might want to give the ink a little bit more chance to soak in, adhere to the material. But you don't have to, I'm actually holding it here a lot longer than I really need to. The other thing I wanted to mention too is, first thing you want to do is plan out your stamped pattern. What I did is laid out a paper towel and then selected various stamps from all those stamp sets that I showed you earlier, and just arranged a pattern. Come up with a pattern on just laying out the stamps that I thought would look nice, and that way it helps keep myself organized as I'm stamping. And then I selected the stamp that would be in the center of my basic pattern, that was the first stamp you saw me stamp, the Celebrate a Creepy Crawly Halloween. I stamped that one in the center and then worked my pattern out, and also started in the center of the fabric and worked outward from the fabric. That way I know that my main focal image of my pattern is right center of my fabric project, and everything else just sort of spreads out from there. So like I said, I get all the stamps ready, get the pattern you want, and then just begin stamping. The other thing another tip is to have baby wipes handy. As you're inking and stamping your images on your fabric, you may find that you get a little bit of ink either on your block or on your fingers, and all these little bits of ink here and there can easily be transferred to your fabric, and you don't want to get ink on the fabric where you don't want it. So keep your fingers clean. Have some baby wipes handy. You see any ink on your fingers, quickly remove it, so that way you don't inadvertently get ink on your fabric where you don't want it. As you see me just continue stamping here, I'm still working on my main pattern, and once you get everything stamped, all of your images, you completely stamp your fabric. And also, by the way, I want to mention, stamp off your fabric. Don't just go to the edge and then stop. It looks more professional, just like all the other fabric patterns that you see in the fabric store. The patterns continue right off the edge. So just slip a piece of paper underneath your fabric along the edge and just stamp off. And that way you'll have more of a finished edge to your fabric, your stamped fabric. It's not going to look like you just hit a wall and stopped. So that's another tip. And then once you get all of your fabric completely stamped, what you're going to want to do then is heat set it. That allows your ink to stay permanent in the fabric without washing out when you throw it in the wash machine. So what I did is I just took a piece of copy paper, printer paper from my printer, laid it over my stamped images, and then set my iron to the hottest temperature that the fabric would allow. And of course, since I'm using a bottom weight fabric for this project, it's a nice sturdy, smooth fabric, allows for nice even stamping. I could set my temperature to high. And so I turned my iron on high and then began just running for a few seconds, maybe count of 5 or so, just running the iron over the stamped images to apply the heat. And no steam. Make sure your steam is off on your iron, because any water that could get into your stamped images before you heat set them could bleed out or wash out. So you want to make sure that you use no steam. Now the ink I'm using as I stamp this, Stampin' Up! Doesn't have a craft type ink anymore. They used to. They just have dye-based inks, which are excellent for stamping, on the cardstock and other projects. But for fabric, what works good is more of a craft-based ink, and you can use StazOn ink that Stampin' Up! Sells. In this case, I've actually tried it both. I've used the StazOn stamping these fabric pillows, and I also just used another off-brand craft fabric ink to stamp my images, and it looks the same. The manufacturer of the StazOn ink, they recommend it more for other surfaces, such as metal or just other hard surfaces, wood and glass and so forth. But other Stampin' Up! Demonstrators have used the StazOn on fabric, and there's other videos out there you can see on YouTube, and they've had success. So either way, you can stamp it your way. You want to stamp with the StazOn. It's a great permanent ink. I think it works fine. I use the like I said, also the off-brand craft ink, and then either way, the images looked exactly the same, using the same color black. So either way, just so you can make your choice on that one. And so as you can see here, I'm just about finishing up my main pattern for my pillow design, and I think I've added maybe a couple more, but I'm not going to show the entire stamping process, because you don't need to see me stamp the entire pillow cover. But this basically, you get the idea. Just to stamp around, follow your pattern. Once I finished the main pattern, then I just continued working out, repeating the pattern outward and up from that main pattern until the entire fabric was covered. And like I said, once again, I also stamped off. So if you want to see more pictures, there'll be some at the end of this video, as well as on my blog. Full instructions, shopping lists, additional pictures. You can see all that at my blog, stampyourway.blogspot.com. And please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel and my blog, so that you won't miss another episode of Stamp Your Way. I hope you enjoyed today's craft project, and until next time, happy hunting!